Welcome back to Movie Idol. So now that season 9 is done, we got some pretty big things to look forward to for season 10. That's going to be the focus now for the rest of the year. I don't know if you noticed, but this video is the start of a new playlist now. My season 9 finale review wrapped up the old season 9 playlist. So now we're moving on to the next chapter of this show. There's a ton of stuff to look forward to for season 10. And in this video, I want to give my predictions based off of the comics as to what might actually happen in season 10. Also stuff that we know is going to happen based off of Angela Kang's comments and so forth. Season 9 focused on issues 127 to about issue 147. There are some things that she didn't touch on in issues like 145 and whatnot, but it's roughly the range that she did focus on. Some of that happened very fast, whereas a lot of it was ignored. I don't know if any of you guys noticed, but season 9, at least the first 5 episodes with Rick, were for the most part unique to the show. There were little things here and there that they borrowed, but for the most part, that was mostly unique to the show. Even with the time jump, they did a total of like 8 years throughout the season. Like 8 years from the end of season 8 to the season 9 finale. I think for sure now it's been like a full 8 years, especially with the time jump from episode 15 to 16. So when Angela Kang was asked last year, or in the summer of last year, what the theme was to this season, and she said time, she wasn't kidding. We had a lot of time jumps this season. There was that month time jump from episode 1 to 2, the 6-year time jump from episode 5 to 6, or I guess technically at the end of 5, and then however long the time jump was from episode 15 to 16. A lot of time has passed. Also, I totally forgot, but there was that 1.5 year time jump between season 8 and 9. Anyways, my point is, Angela Kang's handling of this season, I think, shows that she likes to borrow from the comics here and there, but not as much as Gimple did. She likes to use certain stories, but almost not really. Like, she's not too scared to venture out and bring us drastically different stories. I mean, things are just so different right now. Yes, she borrowed the overall Whisper arc in terms of like the Whisper Pike moment happening, the fair and whatnot, but a lot of things played out differently for that moment to happen. Like, things are just very different right now. There's more things different about the show than the comic. Episode 16 was very different than the comic. The kingdom has fallen. Where our characters are at, it's a different story. It feels like it anyways. For example, Beta was introduced in episode 12. Beta is introduced in the comics during the start of the Whisperer War, which would likely line up around, I guess, episode 6 of season 10. So what I want to focus on here is what I think she's going to do with the story based on the next 20 issues of the comics. So from like issues 148 to about issue 167, maybe issue 168, 69, 70, somewhere around there anyways. The ending and the beginning of this season, like of season 10, I think is going to be very different because we know what happens in issue 167. So like that moment might actually happen in episode 15 of season 10 just because Angela seems to be doing what Game of Thrones does, which is make the episode before the finale the big episode and the finale just sort of wrapping things up and almost serving as setup to the next season. So actually, scratch that. Episode 15 of season 10, I think, will focus on issue 167, in which someone very close to Daryl will die. Whoever this is going to be dying from a walker bite after the Whisperers unleashed this massive herd of walkers on them. Who can this person be? Well, I think it could be Connie. But anyways, before we get into all of that, let's start off with the first half. So I think what we're going to see in this first half of season 10, especially in the first few episodes of the season, I guess it's sort of a recap to what is going on with our characters' lives post this horrific Whisper Pike event. We got a little bit of it in the finale, but I think we're going to get a lot more of it early on in season 10. I've seen some people mention that the war has started now. Well, it technically hasn't yet. No one really has decided to fight back at all in terms of getting like a military setup and all of that. Everyone is just sort of existing right now. Hilltop is a community, though, that I do see wanting to fight back pretty much immediately. I do see that happening. And in the season 10 premiere, we'll see some people in Alexandria wanting to fight back, but refuse to, which will force Michonne to ask Negan for help. Also, something happening in this first half of season 10 is the whereabouts of Lucille. I think that's going to be revealed. Where is Lucille? Who had her this entire time? Well, that's going to be revealed in this first half. Either Daryl has had her the entire time, or it's stored away at the Hilltop, the one community that Negan hasn't been to yet, but Negan won't find Lucille yet. Her whereabouts will be revealed. He'll find her in the second half of season 10. Something else that'll happen in the second half is the assassination attempt on Michonne's life, which again, I think these first few episodes will focus on how great of a character Michonne is. Since Michonne is leaving in season 10, I think they're going to do something similar to Rick's story in the first 5 episodes, which is focus on her a lot. Just focus on the departing character. What was reported is that Michonne is going to be in a handful of episodes that will be spread out throughout season 10. So it's a little different than with Rick, who only stayed for the first 5. So whenever Michonne is on, she will get that big story. I'm not sure when she's going to leave. Like, they're saying it's spread out throughout season 10, but it's only going to be a handful of episodes. So literally just say that's 5 episodes. Are they really only going to have Michonne in like 5 episodes throughout all of season 10 going to the finale? I don't think so. I think that's kind of a waste. I think she'll either leave in the first half of this season, or maybe she'll leave in episode 10 or 11 or something like that, or 9, 10, like around there. She's not making it to the finale. She's not going to be in those last 4, 5, 6 episodes. It's going to be somewhere within the first 10 for sure that she'll be leaving. But one of her big stories that I think she will get is, it could go to Daryl, but I think it's going to be with Michonne, is her refusing to fight back immediately, which will cause someone to try to assassinate her, in which she'll actually kill that person. And the son of that person who tried to kill her will then go and free Negan. And I see this happening in episode 6 of season 10, just because I think he'll end up getting to the Whisperer camp at some point in episode 7, with episode 8 really being focused on Negan at the Whisperer camp. The first half of the season is really going to focus on how our group handles the Whisperers and what they do going forward. What is the right thing to do? Do we fight back? Do we risk another war? What if we lose hundreds of people? Can we actually win a war a second time? Can we be that lucky? Michonne, I believe, will think that they won't be that lucky. Daryl might actually side with her on this because of that herd that Alpha showed him in episode 915. Carol, after the loss of her son, I think is going to see otherwise, creating this divide within Alexandria, which again will only further support the release of Negan, as he might be the only one that can really lead them through this. At least that's how some characters are going to see it. We will also see the Hilltop begin to fight back in whatever ways they can. If they lost the most, they're going to want to, right? So throughout this first half, I think we're going to see many people gear up for war and etc. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to happen here, because obviously I'm being very vague here, and Angela has a lot of stuff packed into each episode. So take this prediction as sort of just like a general plot just based off of the comic material. But one big event that I do see happening in this first half, and I actually in the mid-season finale, is the death of Alpha. I really do see that happening in the mid-season finale. Negan, when released, I believe will take his comic story and meet Beta for the first time in the mid-season finale, maybe in episode 7, but probably in the mid-season finale, and in that episode actually behead Alpha, closing the first chapter of season 10, which was all about the rise to defeating the Whisperers, coming to that decision, and with Negan essentially just doing it himself, as we're meant to believe anyways. Beta finding Alpha's headless body will say otherwise, and that'll be the start of the Whisperer War for the back half of season 10. Now remember, before we get into this back half of season 10, one crucial element will be playing out this season, and that is the departure of Michonne and the revelation that Rick Grimes is alive, and also some other Rick Grimes Easter eggs that Angela Kang promised that will be coming in season 10. Storylines that are connected to the movies, which I think is connected to Michonne's departure, could all be the same thing, but this is something I very much see happening early on in season 10, only because remember what I said, Denai Guerrera is leaving to the Rick Grimes movies reportedly, and so why would she leave to the Rick Grimes movies if Michonne right now believes that he's dead? Well, she figures out he's alive, right? But how? It might not be Commonwealth related. So at any point, this radio storyline is going to play out somehow in this first half. I really do see that happening. And I'm sure it's going to be tied to Michonne's departure in some way. I personally am not. I'm hoping it's not going to be the Commonwealth just because it's a little too soon, but I mean, who knows at this point. Now, when we get into the second half of season 10, the mid-season premiere will focus on Negan returning Alpha's head to Alexandria, proving to Daryl, Carol, and everyone else that is there that he's on their side. After he escapes around episode 6, I think episode 7 and 8 will focus on them just sort of freaking out a little bit, wondering where the hell he went, but in the mid-season premiere, he'll just show up again. This time with Alpha's head. He'll be like, look, Daryl, I solved this problem for you. I did it all by myself. In which I think Michonne, if she's still around, will allow Negan to be out, just like Rick does in the comics, but he can't live in Alexandria. He needs to live in an outpost and live all alone. And this will only happen, though, when the Whisperer threat is dealt with. Until then, he can stay around, but he needs to be monitored. And if he does slip up at all, he'll be thrown right back in that cell. At this point, the Whisperers will be pissed about Alpha and charging after the community, taking that massive herd that we saw in episode 915 towards both of them. Everyone's been wondering about Gabriel's death and whether he'll actually die at the lookout tower. Well, if he's put there in season 10, then yeah, he'll get that death. Whoever is going to be put there at that lookout tower is going to get that death early on in the second half of season 10, which I think will be the start of the first Whisperer battle in which Aaron, or I don't know, whoever's going to take Dwight's role in the comics goes up against Beta. Negan's also going to be here, but Negan will be given no weapon and just sort of hiding, jumping around. Eventually, Lucille will be thrown to him and he'll be fighting Beta with it. When he strikes Beta's back, Lucille will then break, causing Negan to flip shit. Around episode 12, I think will feature the second Whisperer battle at the hilltop, where Lydia declares herself officially a part of our group and decides to kill a Whisperer for the first time. Now, some may have issues with where these battles are happening and how fast it happens, but they are shorter battles, and this is how it plays out in the comics. It is very, very fast. The Whisperers also split up in two as well, so they're kind of happening at the same time in a way, kind of not, but our team will be successful in both battles, which is sort of, I know, a little underwhelming, but the hilltop will also burn down, so there's that, which will cause them to rebuild, I'm guessing, early on in season 11. I think episode 12 at the end, or maybe in episode 13, we'll see the aftermath of the battles. I mean, for one, Negan might be burying Lucille. That could happen in episode 11, after Lucille breaks in episode 10, somewhere around there, I don't know. But I think in episode 13, around this point anyways, they're going to be celebrating their victory over the Whisperers. But it'll be revealed by Daryl that, no, they actually didn't win. There were thousands of walkers out there. Yeah, we killed some of those Whisperers. We killed a few hundred of them, but Daryl's going to be referencing the thousands and thousands of walkers that Alpha showed him, again, in episode 915. You didn't take care of them. There's still all of that out there, which will then get some sort of cliffhanger of Beta almost dying, telling all of his Whisperers, saying, like, we're done now. We're going to let the dead take care of them, unleashing all of that dead on Alexandria. Episode 14 to, I guess, 15 will then focus on this arc and them surviving, with moments like Daryl and Negan stuck in a house, forced to communicate throughout all of this. We'll have Connie, Magna, and a few others, maybe Carol's there. They'll be diverting some of the walkers into the ocean near Oceanside. And Connie, I think, will get Andrea's death, and I think this is going to be happening in episode 15, which is going to hurt Daryl a lot. Not saying that Daryl and Connie are going to be that close and that they're going to be a thing. I know people are shipping them right now, but I think there might be something there in terms of maybe it's not revealed beforehand, but maybe like this moment when Connie's dying, when it's revealed, maybe we see that actually Daryl did sort of care for her, and it's revealed how he really did feel about her, which is just going to be heartbreaking because he never really had the chance to tell her, and she's dying now. The death won't be as sad as Andrea's death was in the comics, because in order for that to happen, it would have to be Michonne dying, and like it has to be that level, like that big of a character to die. But right now, with the show losing a lot of people, obviously they're not going to kill off Carol or Michonne. I mean, Michonne's leaving, but they're not going to kill Carol. But this is roughly how I see the season going. I don't know how the finale is going to end. It's going to be somewhere where they're thinking of the future. There's going to be some sort of Commonwealth thing that comes here. And remember, Maggie could come back this season. There's been rumors that Maggie's going to be coming back, so maybe that actually happens in season 10. I don't know how. I'm not sure when, if it's going to be in the second half or first half, if it's going to be tied to Michonne's departure or what's going to happen, but that is roughly how I see the Whisperer part anyways playing out, and everything else will just sort of fit in there and whatnot, but that is generally what to expect from season 10 as it relates to the comics anyways, because they're not jumping forward and doing a bunch of Commonwealth stuff. Like, they're not going that far. But yeah, that's roughly how I see season 10 playing out. Make sure to post your predictions down below. What do you see happening in season 10? Hope you guys all enjoyed this video. For the next 6 or so months, there will be a lot of announcements and news coming about season 10, and I guess spin-offs, casting news, Rick Grimes movies, and so if you want to get all of that, just be sure to be a subscriber. But again, hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.